Welcome back to the Need for Seed podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Tyler.
And as always, we're here to have open and honest conversations about Scripture and Christian living. Our goal is to share and discuss Scripture in a way that's relatable, understandable, and practical for everyday life. This week, we're exploring Genesis 4, discussing the motivations behind our life choices and the importance of keeping our ultimate goal in focus.
And of course, we can't forget to mention our sponsor, Mustard Seed Clothing Company. It's an online Christian clothing and merch store founded by Alex and myself, designed for anyone who wants to express their faith in style. You can check out the collection at msclothing.co. That's msclothing.co. And as a thank you for listening, use promo code NFS10, that's NFS10, at checkout for 10% off your order. Just a heads up, March 31st, the day this episode will be released, is the last day to use that code. All right, now let's get into episode 3.
Welcome back, everybody. Last time we spoke about Genesis chapter 2 and Genesis chapter 3. Today we'll be reviewing Genesis chapter 4. It begins, "Now Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a worker of the ground." Tyler, which one would you rather be?
Probably working the ground.
Working the
ground. Be better with plants than animals.
Okay. I mean, it is almost summer in Florida. Are you sure about your answer?
Let me think about that. I'll get back to you.
Okay. Verse 3, "In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock, and of their fat portions, and the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. The Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry, and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. Cain spoke to Abel his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him." Now, I think a lot of people have read this story before. So maybe it's best to look at it with fresh eyes. Because usually Cain kind of gets the rep as he can't take constructive criticism. And he received one constructive criticism and was angry.
Immediately lost it.
Lost it. Yeah, like but if you dig a little deeper, we have Adam and Eve, we have Cain and Abel. And Cain is working the ground. He's most likely making the food for the whole family. It's probably hot out there. I think the land is cursed, so he's probably like hurting his thumb on a thorn or like sweating and working in midday, trying to make sure everyone has to eat. And then, I mean, what do you think that Abel's sheep eat?
Probably some of the same. I mean, the grass, right?
Yeah. So I imagine Abel's offering up this fattened firstborn, and he's like, that fat's for my
from my grass, right?
Yeah, that's from my grass. I grew that grass, Lord. I imagine he probably came in from the field tired, and it was time to gather and give offering, and he probably wanted to get it over with, I think.
You're definitely playing devil's advocate, but I'm listening.
Yeah. So, okay. So then his offering wasn't regarded by the Lord, and he was upset. I think that's natural. Like, order of thinking is something unfortunate happens, you feel upset about it. But then it seems like he placed his blame, or maybe he was jealous of his brother. Maybe you could relate this to, you've been supporting someone, propping them up. They get the reward and the praise for it. You don't. You're like, I deserve that because I've been supporting him. We've been working together. So I can, adding a little bit more color. And then it's interesting because they say that Cain spoke to Abel, his brother, and when they were in the field. And I'm thinking the field must be Cain's territory, where he has all the crops growing. And who's probably following Abel around? In the field with all the plants, walking across it, probably eating it, probably just like messing everything up.
Mm.
And so here he has this bit of discomfort with his brother, and it's made worse because there's hard work, they're tired, his sheep are trampling through his field again, and he's like, I've had it with you and your sheep, and that your blessing got regarded. Boom, sin took a foothold, and he acted on it. I kind of think about it a little bit more like that because it's more relatable. Like you lose your temper or you lose your patience because something was already seated there, and then it came to fruition after there was like increased tension.
I can see what you're saying. Because, I mean, a lot of people don't really relate to Cain. They think of this person who just has this uncontrollable rage where they would kill their own brother over jealousy. And I think that if we were putting ourselves in his shoes, then we might be thinking, well, this isn't the first time maybe where they had tension, right? We don't know anything about their lives beyond this one Bible story. I believe people think that they're twins as well, because it just talks about Eve conceiving one time. You mentioned that to me earlier. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine the kind of sibling rivalry between twins, especially if one's like, oh, I'm older than you. And we don't know who's older and who's not, but
he can't even justify it to himself like, oh, he's older, so he got the more. It's like we're on the same level.
Right. And the temptation with these kind of Bible stories that we've heard over and over, if we've been in the church for a while, is to not really humanize some of the bad guys in the story.
Yeah.
But I kind of like what you're doing. I mean, we don't know exactly how it all went down, but I like that you're looking at, well, what would have caused someone like me to finally lose it? And it could be years, it could be over and over conflicts. And then on top of it all, Abel gets recognition from God, and God tells Cain, I don't like what you gave me. So that could have just been the tipping point.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we discussed this. I kind of want to go back to the very beginning to kind of look at what happened, because I think it's well known that Cain was upset. He had the feeling of anger. He hadn't yet done anything to commit sin. He was upset. Mm-hmm. He hadn't done anything wrong yet, and God instructed him in the right way. I think when the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why has your face fallen? He's not really asking him like he doesn't know. Like I would ask you if I saw your face. He's almost like pointing him to the fact that it's only fallen because you didn't show up all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just look at towards what the issue was and let's correct that, because if you don't, it'll just unravel from there. And I guess, Cain, he was still fuming. He did not take that advice.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to bring up, because in the story it might not be clear. The assumption is that Cain didn't bring God the best of his field. It's that he was bringing God kind of whatever he could scrape together is the idea behind it. It's not that God doesn't like fruit and he just prefers, a leg of lamb. It's that Abel is giving God the very best of what he has of his flock, and Cain is not. And that's the distinction between it.
Yeah. I think one other thing to add is I don't think God was sitting there rubbing his belly like, what do I want on the menu tonight? And like, I just don't really want veggies. I want lamb chops. Mm-hmm. I think he was doing it for the betterment of the people who are offering.
Right.
He's trying to help them be the best version of themselves. And he's like, hey, you're angry, but you could do this better. You could show up like this.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing to note as well. So here's the thing. I don't think that Cain was against offering up to the Lord. I think I don't even know if they had done it before and this was like the millionth time they had done it, but, because I think we tend to do things over and over and lose the meaning behind it a little bit because it becomes routine or almost like habit.
Yeah.
But he needed a refresher. And I think that he was most likely offering to the Lord because he wanted to please the Lord. But at this time, whatever may have been going on, I think he just wanted to get it over with. He was like, all right, another thing on my checklist, done.
Relatable. Very relatable.
And so what I want to talk about today is kind of how you step into something with a primary motivation to whatever it may be, in this case, please the Lord. But as time goes on, stressors or other things can lead you astray to have other goals that you don't necessarily are aware that you're doing. You're like, I just want to get this over with, but you're not like, am I giving up my primary goal for a temporary satisfaction of just rushing through something? So I think, it's a good thing to look at. And I wanted to go in and kind of give more like everyday examples of things that could be relatable to us now in the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have social media, which provides the motivation. I don't even think people inherently are like, I'm going to register for TikTok or Instagram because I want attention. Most likely they just wanted to be included in what was going on, and it was a very interesting app. But I think as time goes on, it's easy to say, oh, I got likes, or people are looking at this, and it feeds into and almost pulls you away from what you initially wanted to do. So one example is there's a lot of mom influencers talking about everyday tips that they do for their kids, and how they're good moms and how they pack their lunches. And they're very like educational. I mean, I love seeing the shared kind of education among the community of mothers, but I do think there's a tendency to go from your primary goal of uplifting other mothers and start to feed more into the attention of social media. And one of those, I think they even make reels about it, where there's like a mom who is doing a dance in front of her phone in the kitchen as her kids and her husband, or maybe just her kids, stare off at her by the side, seeing her dance. And it's like 5:30 and they're like, Mom, like, can we have dinner? Are we going to eat? Like, her motivation was to show, like, this is how you're a good mom. And now she's kind of a slave to the social media a little bit. So yeah, that it just I want to touch on how you can be on your journey and on your path. And sometimes external influence or environmental influences can kind of pull you away from your primary motivation, and how important it is to snap back and say, this is why I'm in it. This is why I'm doing this. Do you have any examples that you can think of?
Yeah, I think this probably is going to relate to a lot of people. So sing along if you heard it before. So you're on your way to the store and you need to get, let's say someone asks you to get bananas and yogurt because they want to include that in breakfast for tomorrow, right? So I'm going to go pull out the Publix like I always do. And I'm going to go in there. I'm only going to get bananas and yogurt. All right, well, and I think there's a strategy to this too. So you can tell me if you agree. In order to get to the produce, you have to walk past the deli where the sandwiches are, where the hot food is, right? Where all the chicken wings, and also where the sushi is at our particular Publix. So you got to walk past all that. And so I'm looking and I said, Alex really loves chicken wing too, just like I do. Maybe I should surprise her, right? Or maybe she wants a pub sub or some sushi. So we walk past that. Let's say I pick up one extra item and I get my bananas. I'm like, all right, cool. So assuming at this point that I've remembered that I need to get yogurt too, right? Walking over, getting the yogurt. Where's the dairy section? Happens to be right by the bakery.
Oh, yeah.
And chocolate chip cookies are half off right now. Oh, the girls would love that. Oh, the kids would love some French bread. We're having soup tonight. Let me get some French bread, right? And on and on and on, where you go to the store for two things and you come out with a full cart. And even worse when you're hungry. Never go to the grocery store hungry.
Guys, I'm grinning ear to ear right now.
Pro tip. Just don't do it. And then it's even worse. Sometimes you go there, and maybe it's just me. Sometimes you go there, you get so distracted that you leave. And when you're in the parking lot, you're like, I didn't get like the one thing I actually came here for.
Yes.
Is there a better analogy for life? There's so many like shiny possessions, so many life experiences that we're chasing, so many personal goals and ambitions that we're chasing. And if you're not careful, you can just find yourself drifting. And it happens slowly over time to the point where now you're so off course, you don't even remember what you were there for in the first place.
Yeah, that was an excellent example. And I have to say, you're a lot better than me because I walk into the store and they have those little tables with the BOGOs. I immediately lose my mind. Like, don't even if I have a list, like, I really have to have blinders on at Publix.
They know what they're doing.
Oh, man, that's a good example. I can think of another one, which is doing a good job. Initially, let's say, and I feel like this happens a lot in the interview process. You're like selling yourself that you're a good employee and then that you're really in it for the betterment of whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And then you get into the job and you start to really give it your all when the boss is looking, or really give it your all when it has something to do with benefiting you.
Yeah.
And your primary motivation might have been, I don't know, say if you're a doctor, it could have been saving lives. If you're a nurse as well, I'm thinking there's the only things I can think of as the medical field, but
Mhm.
Your primary motivation should have been for the betterment of whatever community or whatever customers that you're helping. And now you're primarily, like, you're prioritizing your goals towards, how do I look good to my boss to get the promotion to look better than this person? And you can really tell, this is like a key indicator, when someone else gets praises when you've been doing the same thing and you find it hard to say, good job, congratulations.
Yep.
Or you do say it, but it sounds salty.
It's through your teeth, right? Through gritted teeth.
Yeah. Especially if you were supporting them. And, I think that we, referencing back to the first episode where we talked about the goodness of God, like, it's an interconnected goodness. You celebrate when people are celebrating, and you're with people when they're grieving. So that's a key indicator. Let me reassess if something has skewed my goals and what I'm doing.
Absolutely. If I could say one thing too, that's kind of that idea of I'm going to work hard to get something for myself. I feel like that's where the motivations between someone who's kingdom minded and someone who's kind of going on in what the world encourages, where those lines diverge, because the world will tell you that personal ambition is a good thing.
I think personal ambition it can be good, but it's not good at the expense of others. Because it's fine to want to make sure you're healthy and make sure that you're taken care of, but you don't want to be doing it by stealing something from someone else or putting them down so that you can get up.
Right. And I think for a lot of people, that's just called playing the game. That's how it's treated. Yeah. It's not treated as like a moral wrong. It's just, it's business. It's politics. It's how you get ahead. And a lot of people get hurt that way too.
Yeah. I think that kingdom culture, we don't really see that a lot because, and it could just be from my limited perspective, but there seems to be a divide between being in church and the rest of your life, like working, whatever it may be. And when you start to understand that God has made every single thing down to the tiniest atom, tiniest molecule, like everything is underneath his authority. So why would it end when you step out of church?
Right.
And it's supposed to live in you. And one other thing I just wanted to touch, not being able to say congratulations to someone, or just not being happy because you felt that you deserved it, is sometimes people do really wrong you. And sometimes society says it's fine to get back at them. It's fine to be nasty. It's fine to, even in the tiniest way, get a little bit of revenge yourself. And what's hard, but also very freeing, is when you leave the vengeance to God.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that God is the only one who can give the most appropriate vengeance to something that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because God loves everybody, right? So he's not avenging you on the person that wronged you to see them destroyed. Right. He's doing it to break them down, to help them to see the error of their ways. It's not to get back. So he's like a kind of like a, I wouldn't say an uninterested third party, but he's unbiased.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have a fight between your kids. You don't love one kid more than the other.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I have a few verses that I think are related to this topic, and I'm going to go ahead and read the first one and just discuss how it's kind of speaking to what we're talking about. So the first one is Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven.
Mm.
Honestly, if I couldn't think of a greater verse to support the social media craze.
Yeah.
Because everyone's looking and it pulls your intimacy away from certain things. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos where people are crying, which I'm so sorry that they are crying and wish that they were not sad.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is a little bit weird to imagine the whole setup of how that was recorded.
Right.
So not that that's exactly applicable to this verse, but 100%, if you're careful not to practice things in front of others, you won't be tempted to do it for others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll more so give you like an intrinsic motivation where you're doing it because it's right and you want to please God.
Right. It's not for attention,
Mm-hmm.
not for attention for what you're doing, but to either help others or point them towards God.
All right, so let me read the next verse. Or actually, can you read the next verse, Philippians 2:3-4?
Yeah. So it says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too.
That's a good one. Especially if you find yourself in a work situation where you can't say congratulations, and then you have to renew your mind to think of them as better than yourself.
That's tough. That's very tough.
But it definitely helps draw a path to where you should be and where you are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next one is James chapter 4, verse 3. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. You know, I think this is interesting because I think sometimes people don't like other people and they think that they're bad or they're wrong simply because they annoy them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they're praying, but their motive is just their lack of patience.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever it may be. I mean, what do you think about this verse in context to our conversation?
What really comes to mind is this idea of like your motives really determine whether or not what you were doing was worth it, at least in God's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes even harder with like people who shift their motives constantly. Using kind of my world in the guitar world, being self-taught or self-directed with how you learn an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times that looks like scrolling YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to find whatever kind of free lessons you can come across. I see this with my students a lot. What they end up coming to me with is, man, this week I kind of got lost. You know, I was looking at
Mm-hmm.
some scales, and then I wanted to learn these arpeggios, and I saw this soloing video. I wanted to learn this solo.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up getting kind of frustrated. And it's just, I can see that with so many different areas of life where you go in for one thing, right? And you go and you find yourself on all these little side quests where in the end, once you spent all that time, you haven't really gotten anywhere.
Yeah. Why does that remind me of the verse, like, not everything is, like, things can be good, but not everything is profitable?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I believe Paul said that, yeah.
Okay, last verse. People, this is Proverbs chapter 16, verse 2-3. People may be pure in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their motives. Commit your actions to the Lord and your plans will succeed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think this people may be pure in their own eyes is such an issue right now because one, you really don't know. You remember how I was talking about drawing a line where you are and where you should be?
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't know that they're not on target.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you commit your actions to the Lord, eventually you'll be guided to the right place. But if you always think that you're right in your own eyes, you could just be staring off into the darkness and you think that you're in the light.
Yeah. Do you think there's a distinction between motive and your intended end goal? Sorry if that was a weird way to say that, but like what your motivation is for something, for doing something, for pursuing something versus what the perceived end goal, the idea that you have in your mind of what it will be like when you get there.
I definitely think there's a difference, because a lot of times people want the end goal, or at least they think they want the end goal of something.
Mm-hmm.
But when they start working, they abandon it because they thought they wanted the end goal, but what they really wanted was something else from getting that goal.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was kind of thinking, that how we can get those two things confused, where it's like, oh, I want to be, maybe you want to be a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
right? You say, I want to be a doctor because I want to help people. And that's the idea you have in your mind of what it means to finally achieve that. Go through all the schooling,
Mm-hmm.
go through all the testing, and all that. And then
You start doing the hard work.
Right.
And you're like, I don't like this. And then you realized you wanted to be a doctor because of the pride of life.
Because you wanted to do something that you wanted people to see you doing something that felt noble.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't always have to be a wrong motivation, but sometimes it's like people, like, why do people chase fame? And it might not be that they're chasing fame because they feel like they're all that.
Mm-hmm.
It might be because they're trying to heal self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, you can easily confuse what you think the end goal is for your primary motivation.
That is very true. It is sometimes difficult when the goal that you think you want and then I guess the distracting one are running along the same path, right?
Yep.
So like, and I'm not talking about anyone, but I just think that this is a good example of where two goals are going along the same path and you can't really tell them from another. So let's just say someone's like a Christian singer, mm-hmm. and they get really famous and they're like, I'm doing this because I want to create a space, a presence for the Lord, to share with people, to sing. But the sneaking kind of goal comes in that they like the praise. They mm-hmm. like being on the stage. They like the fame. They liked the lifestyle now. And it's kind of hard to split it apart. Mm-hmm. Because they're going along the same kind of like direction. And that's why it's always, you always have to keep the word. You always have to read the word daily. You have to seek the kingdom first, meaning you have to always search for God first, because he'll align you. If you seek God, he'll help you split it apart so you can tell what was tagging along to that primary goal, or what was really your original goal, and help you to reassess. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that makes sense.
I feel like it's just saying that God can get to the heart of the matter.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. He can get to the heart of the matter. He can show you these motivations, that they're actually different from the end goal you have in mind. Because you may be happy, you may be completely happy and fulfilled in a completely different career than you planned, with a completely different lifestyle than you planned. Yeah. That's why it's worth it. Like, just to audit. Am I doing what I got into this for? Am I still going towards the goal? Is this still
Lord, show it to me.
Yeah, pray for that. Ask for him to reveal that to you, because he will.
And I feel like some people might pray and be like, "Ooh, Lord, show it to me." Oh man. Okay. Well, I want to get into the challenge for this week. So this week's challenge is to examine the motivations for some of the most important goals you're pursuing right now, and ask yourself, do these motives align with the person God wants me to be?
Question.
Yes.
How do we know what kind of person God wants me to be? Let's say I'm very new to the faith.
Okay.
And I have no idea what that means. What does God want me to be? How do I know if my motives line up with that?
Well, I would say you should start with the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament, the Sermon on the Mount, because God calls his followers to not only put on gratitude, put on kindness and a compassionate heart, but he basically has all these teachings that show you how everyday life is supposed to look.
That's good.
And so if, and this could be a whole nother episode about what people think Christians are and what they're intended to be, but it's supposed to be inside you, so close to you. It's supposed to become you, that you don't just turn it on or turn it off or put it on like a jacket and take it off. It eventually becomes who you are. You become a compassionate person. That's a great question.
Yep. For that reference, the Sermon on the Mount is found in Matthew chapters 5 through 7, I believe. So definitely start there if this is all brand new to you.
All right, our closing verse for today is from Galatians chapter 6, verses 8 to 9. Those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from that sinful nature. But those who live to please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.